Welcome to my channel Clinical Biochemistry with Dr. P.K. Prabhakar. Today we are going to talk about polymerase chain reactions. If you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it. You can press the bell button so that all the notifications you will get it whenever I will upload the video. So today we will talk about the PCRs and the details steps of the PCRs. So first, PCR, it is a techniques to amplify the DNA. So if we are having a small fragment of DNA, it can be amplified by a techniques that is called PCR, or we are in abbreviation form we are going to call polymerase chain reactions. PCR, it was invented in 1984 by American biochemist. His name was Carey Mullis, and later on he has got awarded the Nobel Prize in 1993. This PCR is using very small amount of DNA, and it increases exponentially. Means you will have tremendous number of DNA fragments after the few cycles in very less time span. This PCR is now it is a common instrument in almost all the molecular biology lab. Molecular biology labs cannot be imagined without the PCR. And not only molecular biology, it is also requirement for the medical laboratory diagnostic tests or the clinical laboratory research also. PCR is one of the very important equipment in all the labs. This PCR is carried out by an instrument that is called as normally thermal cyclers, and the process is thermal cycling process. Why we are calling thermal cycling process? Because in this process we are going to increase temperature and then we are going to cool it down. So heating will be done and then cooling will be done. So that is going to occur in the cyclic process. So heating and cooling occurs in the cyclic manner. That's why we are going to call it thermal cycler, or the process is called as thermal cycling. This PCR, what are the uses of PCR in any area of the biological science, any of area of the medical science? You cannot imagine without PCR. So PCR is going to be used for almost all the area. Either it will be environmental microbiology, medicines, phylogenetics, forensic science, genetic engineering, molecular biology, biochemistry, food and agriculture. Means any area of the biological science, PCR is compulsory. It is required. If we will go in little bit more detail about the PCR applications, PCR is going to be used for different purposes. So if I have to purify, I have to isolate DNA from the organism, I can go for PCR to amplify it, because after isolation, if amount of DNA is very not sufficient, I have to amplify it. So there PCR will be used. So amplification and quantification of DNA can also be done by the using of specialized types of PCRs. And PCR is also going to be helpful in the different medical applications, like for genetic testing of genetical disease, oncogenes identifications, tissue typing identifications, then some identification of the infectious disease like HIV, TB, and nowadays coronavirus, COVID-19. You can detect by the use of RT-PCR. That is a slightly advanced version of, slightly one kind of modified version of PCR only. Then PCR is also used for the forensic applications like DNA fingerprinting, DNA paternity testings, then cybers, crimes, then genetic fingerprinting and research. Almost all the area of biological science in the research, we are going to use PCR. So PCR is having tremendous use not only in the diagnosis but in other areas as well as. So if you see the PCR consists of basically three important steps. Those three steps are called as denaturing steps, annealing steps, and the extending steps, or elongation steps, we can call it. So we are going to start with a double-stranded DNA. So before the PCR, we are having a double-stranded DNA. So in the case of denaturing steps, there we are going to denature the DNA. So whatever double-stranded DNA we are having, this double-stranded DNA will be denatured, so that both the strands of DNA will be separated out by breaking of hydrogen bonds. And this process denaturation occurs at 94 to 95 degrees centigrade, so that hydrogen bond, all the hydrogen bonds will be broken down. So we have two different separate strands will be there. In the second step, we are going to provide the specialized primer for the 3' end of both the strands. So for both the strands, we are having 3' primer we are providing. So in the second step, that is called annealing step, there this primer will be annealed with the corresponding base pair of the DNA strands, which we want to amplify it. So there we have to decrease the temperature roughly 50 to 56 degrees centigrade. And after this one, we are going to use a specialized enzyme polymerase that is called as thermostable polymerase, that is heat stable polymerase. That polymerase normally extend this primer and elongate this double stranded, and ultimately we will get a two complementary double stranded DNA as a result. This three process means called as one cycle of PCR. So one cycle of PCR is consist of three steps: denaturations, annealing, and extending, or you can call it elongations. Now, this whole process occurs in a cyclic manner. Cyclic manner means in the thermal cycles, I have told you it is going to occur in the cyclic process. So first we have started from this place. So we have a small DNA fragment. This DNA fragment in the first denaturation steps has been separated into two different strands. Then in the annealing steps, we have primer has been added to the 3' end of the DNA. Next step, we are having elongation or extensions. There, DNA polymerase, thermostable DNA polymerase elongates this primer and make a complementary copy. So we are having two double-stranded DNA we have got ultimately. So here is one DNA double-stranded. This is second stranded. This is one cycle. After the completion of cycle, again this DNA will go for denaturation step. So now we will have four single-stranded DNA, and then four single-stranded will be annealed with the primers, and then they will go. So this is going in this cycling manner every time. So that's why it is called as a cyclic process, or PCR cycle we are going to call it. What is the requirement of the PCRs? There are few basic requirements for the PCRs which we require compulsory for all the PCR processes. So first we need a DNA template which we want to amplify, which we want to copy. So we are having a DNA template or the target DNA. Then for both the strands, either this strands or this strand, for both the strands we need a specific primer. That primer will be roughly 15 to 20 nucleotide long. Then up, so we have primer. Normally we design primer. If you know the sequences, we can design primer also. Then we require thermostable DNA polymerase. As you have seen, the temperature is going up to 94 degrees centigrade. So we require those DNA polymerase which can sustain, which can be stable at this 94 degrees centigrade. Otherwise, normally protein does not stable at this 94 degrees centigrade. So we require a specialized kind of DNA polymerase which can exist, which can stable at 94 degrees centigrade. That is called as thermostable DNA polymerase. Then we require all the four different types of nucleotides, like because DNA has to be elongated, so we are going to requiring deoxyribonucleotides of for adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. So for all the four D and TPG we require. We require a specialized buffer at which for the providing the conditions for the elongation of DNA, and we require certain cofactors, that is bivalent metal ions. Normally we are going to use manganese or magnesium. So these are the basic requirement. If you'll go a little bit in details of the requirements, what are the things we require? So we require a DNA template that will be double-stranded DNA. Then we require DNA polymerase. We require two DNA primer, means for two strands. So this is complementary to 3' end of each DNA sense and antisense strand of the target DNA. Then we require four types of deoxyribonucleotide triphosphate, DNTPs, all the four types. We require a buffer solutions which provides a suitable chemical environment for the DNA polymerase to elongate it. And then we require a bivalent cation ions. This typically we require magnesium ions preferably, or sometimes we are going to use manganese also, and sometimes other. If you don't have all these things, you can use monovalent cation also. Typically potassium cation. If we have to use monovalent, we can use potassium. So either magnesium, that is a preferred. Otherwise, you can use manganese or potassium. Now, if you see the thermostable DNA polymerase, there are different types of polymerase has been discovered. So here we are going to see four different types of DNA polymerase which we are going to use nowadays in the PCRs, and some is having advantages, some is having disadvantages. like Taq polymerase. This was the first DNA thermostable DNA polymerase which was discovered, and it has been isolated. It has been purified from the organism that is Thermus aquaticus, that is eubacteria. This Taq polymerase optimum temperature is roughly 75 to 80 degrees centigrade. Means it works best at this 75 to 80 degrees centigrade. It is having a half life of 2 hours at 92.5 degree. So if you are going to increase the temperature at 92.5 degree, it can 50% will be working after 2 hours also. At the means 95 degrees centigrade, its half life is 40 minutes. If you are going to increase temperature at 97.5 degree, then half life is 9 minutes. But we are not going to do at the 97.5. Maximum we are going to go 92 to 95 degrees centigrade. This Taq polymerase, Taq means Thermus aquaticus, T means Thermus, Q means aquaticus. This Thermus aquaticus Taq polymerase can replicate 1000 base pair per strand of DNA in less than 10 seconds. And one of the Taq polymerase drawback is it lacks 3' to 5' exonuclease proofreading activity. Means if this DNA polymerase has added any wrong nucleotide, it cannot able to remove that one. It cannot purify it. It cannot correct that one. So wrong nucleotide added, that has to be carried to the next cycle. So that is the major drawback of this Taq polymerase. And other DNA polymerase is having disadvantages. Like the other DNA polymerase is PFU polymerase, which is also thermostable, and it has been isolated from Pyrococcus furiosus, that is Archaebacteria. This PFU DNA polymerase is having some superior thermostability and the proofreading. The major disadvantage I have told you, in the case of Thermus aquaticus, they don't have proofreading power. So they cannot correct the wrong nucleotide addition. But PFU polymerase is more thermostable, as well as it is having a proofreading properties compared to the Taq DNA. So PFU is having slightly advantages over the Taq polymerase. Unlike the Taq DNA polymerase, PFU polymerase possesses a 3' to 5' exonuclease proofreading activity. Already I have told you this is having proofreading, and it is better stable at the higher temperature. So PFU is having advantages over Taq polymerase. Similarly, Vent polymerase, has been isolated from Thermococcus litoralis, that is also Archaebacteria. This is also having these two properties, means thermostability as well as the proofreading power. And last one is PWO polymerase, that is called as Pyrococcus vaccae. It has been isolated from Pyrococcus vaccae, that is also Archaebacteria. So these are the 4 thermostable polymerase we are having nowadays. And Taq polymerase is having significance as it was the first thermostable DNA polymerase which was initially discovered, and it has used for long duration of time. But nowadays we are having slightly better DNA polymerase, thermostable polymerases, which we are going to use either PFU or Vent DNA polymerase. So we can select the DNA polymerase according to us. Then when we are talking about the DNA polymerase, primer selection, primer designing is one of the most tedious job and most important job in the PCR. So first we require 2 sets of primer for both the strands of DNA, because we are having 2 strands of DNA. So for both the strands we require a specific primer. So we require 2 sets of primer, and generally roughly we require 20 to 30 nucleotide long. Primer should not be very small so that it can hybridize any random places of the DNA. If it will be very small, it can binds at any places of the DNA, any random places. If it will be very long, it will not hybridize with the specific places also. So primer should not be very long, not should be very small in the size. So roughly 20 to 30 nucleotide long we are going to take it. Normally we are going to produce synthetically, it will be chemically, it will be designed. This is complementary to the 3' end of the target DNA. It is not complementary. Both the primers would not be complementary to each other. Otherwise, during the PCS cycles, both the primer will hybridize each other only. Rather, it has to be hybridized with the DNA strands which we want to elongate. But if it will be complementary to each other, so primer will form a complementary pairing. Not containing any kind of inverted repeated sequence to avoid formation of internal structure. So no secondary structure formation should have to be there. Normally 40% to 60% GC content is preferred for better annealing. So because GC, you know that it is going to form 3 hydrogen bonds. So if we are having slightly higher side of GC content, so better annealing process will be there, better powerful hybridization process happens. This melting temperature of the primer can be calculated by from the annealing temperature to determine the annealing temperature. So first we have to determine the melting temperature of the primer, and then we require we are going to calculate the annealing temperature. So roughly annealing temperature is the temperature at which primer will be added here, added to the DNA. So roughly this annealing temperature is slightly 5 to 6% difference is there between the melting temperature and the annealing temperature. For melting temperature, this is the formula for the calculations, that is 0.41 percentage of GNC plus 16.6 log G to the power G plus 81.5, where G plus is the concentration of the monovalent ions if you are going to use it. So I have told you PCR is having three different steps. The first step is denaturation process. In the denaturation process, the DNA thermal cycler is going increasing its heat, and it will reach up to 94 to 95 degrees centigrade on an average, otherwise 94 to 98 degrees centigrade for 20 to 30 seconds. So in this case, the both the DNA strands from the double stranded DNA will be hydrogen bonds will be broken down, and because hydrogen bond will be broken down, so both the strands will be separated each from each other, and we will have two separate single stranded DNA. Roughly this will be for 30 to 90 seconds. So this is the original DNA, and after denaturation steps we will have two separate single stranded DNA. After this denaturation process, we are going for the second step, that is called annealing steps. This reactions, the reaction means the reaction temperature is lowered to from 94 to 50 to 65 degrees centigrade for 20 to 40 seconds on an average. This decrease in the temperature just to allow the binding of primer to the single stranded DNA. So we have primer, we are having single stranded DNA. So if temperature will be high, so hydrogen bond will not form. So we are going to decrease the temperature so that proper annealing process happens between the primer and the single stranded DNA template. Time duration is roughly 30 to 60 seconds. And this process, this step is very critical to determine the proper temperature for the annealing steps, because efficiency and specificity are strongly affected by the annealing temperature. If you will increase temperature, annealing temperature will be very high, so that hybridization will not be there. If your annealing temperature is very low, then also temperature means annealing will not happen. Why it will not happen? If temperature must be low enough to allow hybridization to the primer, and high enough to hybridize to the specific site only. If very low, then hybridization will not happen. If very high, then bonds will be broken down. So the annealing temperature will be decided very specific manner, so that annealing process will happen, will occur. Otherwise, at higher temperature or the lower temperature, annealing will not occur. A typical annealing temperature is roughly 3% to 5% below the melting temperature of the primer. I have already told you there is a difference between the melting temperature and the annealing temperature is 5 degree. So roughly 3 to 5 degree difference is there. This is the annealing process. So we are having two types of primers. If you see, green color is one kind of primers and blue color is other type of primer. So we are having two sets of primer, which we are going to see here. So after denaturations, we are going to decrease the temperature from around 55 to 60 degrees centigrade. There, this two primer is going to anneal, going to bind with the corresponding DNA at 3' end of that particular DNA. So as we are seeing here, one primer has been added, here one primer has been added. So this is my second step. Then we are having third is the extension or elongation steps, where this temperature of the extension step or elongation step depends on the DNA polymerase, which type of DNA polymerase we are going to use, because for every DNA polymerase we are having a specific optimum temperature. Roughly the temperature is between 75 to 80 degrees centigrade, and on an average 72 degrees centigrade, and this process requires a time of 45 seconds only. Then this precise time is required for elongation depends on both the DNA polymerase you are going to use and the length of DNA you are going to use. If DNA polymerase processivity is very fast, it will take less time. If processivity is slow, it will take more time. and your DNA target is very long DNA target you have selected, then also it needs little bit more time to elongate it. So this 45 second can vary depending on the speed of DNA polymerase, processivity or fidelity of DNA polymerase, plus the length of DNA target to be elongated. As a thumb rule, the optimum temperature, most DNA polymerizes roughly 1000 base pair per minute. So according to that one, we can calculate it. Whatever you see a small squares, they are showing you the nucleotides, four different types of DNTP. And this is original DNA, this is primer which is annealed there, and we are having DNA polymerase which is now going to elongate. So both the strands of DNA has been elongated. So ultimately we will have two different double stranded DNA from single to double stranded DNA. So we have started from single double stranded DNA, and after one cycle, three steps, we have got two double stranded DNA. So here we are going to say this is we have started from this DNA. This is first step, denaturation and annealing. So primer has been added there. After primer, elongation has been added. So this is one cycle. After one cycle, we have got two DNA, double stranded DNA. Then this both the DNA will go for cycle number 2, where we will have both strands will be separated. So ultimately, we will have four single stranded DNA, and four single stranded DNA will be annealed with two different types of primer, as you are going to see here, and then it will be elongated. So after the two steps, after the cycle number 2, we will have total four double stranded DNA. So roughly in a PCR we are going to run from roughly around 30 to 35 cycles. So this is the complete PCR cycles, where this is the initial process of denaturation. So the DNA will be denatured at roughly 94 degrees centigrade for 45 seconds. Then we are going to decrease the temperature to 55 to 65 degrees centigrade for the annealing of primer. That will be at 45 minutes. The time duration is 45 seconds. Then slightly temperature will be high for to provide optimum temperature for DNA polymerase for the extension or elongation. So temperature will be 72 for 45 seconds. This process from here to here is called as one cycle. This cycle is repeated every time how many cycles you want, roughly 30, 20, 15, 20, whatever cycles you want. So after that one, once you have finished all the cycles, then temperature will be, final extension will be done, and after final extensions, DNA will be kept at 4 degrees centigrade. Means it that is the final, your DNA will be cycle has been completed now. There are some points which need to be remembered. The process of denaturation, elongation, and annealing means three steps, that is denaturation, annealing, and elongations constitute one cycle of the PCR. Multiple cycles are required to amplify the DNA target to millions of copies. The formula used to calculate is calculated by 2 to the power n, where n is the number of cycles. Like if I am going to run DNA for 30 cycles, so how many DNA copies I will have? So that we can be calculated by 2 to the power 30, and that will be roughly equal to this many number of original DNA strands. So this is the formula which we need to remember to calculate the total number of DNA. Now, this is one step where we are going to start from one DNA. This is after denaturation, we have two different DNA strands. So annealing, primer has been added there, then elongation. So we have got two DNA strands. Now in the second cycle, this will be separated differently. This will be separated differently, and both will be elongated. So we will have 4 copy after second cycle. After the end of third cycle, we will have roughly 8 copy, because this is going to be separated, annealed, and elongated. So it is exponentially increase in the number of DNA. The one point which I need to tell you, after few cycles, the length of DNA is going to be smaller. As you are going to see that we have started from this many big length, but after few steps, we are going to get a smaller length of DNA. Why we are getting this smaller length of DNA? Because whenever we are going to use primer, so primer is not going to bind at this terminus. Primer will be bind at certain points in the between. Like here you can see it is binds at this place. So it will not, it will be elongated from this side onward only. It will not be elongated this back side. So this part will be left like that one. Similarly here also, primer is not going to bind at this place. Primer is going to bind at this place. So elongation will be only for this portion. This portion will be left blank. Next time when this stance is going to elongate it, it will be, primer will be bind at this place, not at this place. So elongation will be only for this much portion. Means after few cycle, after second cycle, we are going to get a smaller length of DNA. So DNA length is going to be slowly smaller, and that will be fixed. Means we are not going to, every time it is not going to decrease. Once it will be decreased, means we will have a smaller length of DNA, which you are going to see in the highlighted one. So that you need to remember, that sometimes questions are coming, why it is going to decrease in the small, means length of the DNA is going to get smaller. Now, how to calculate total DNA formed after n, means n number of cycles? For that one, we are having a formula, that is mf equal to mi multiplied by n, where mf equal to final number of DNA. So how many DNA will be formed after n cycles? So this is final DNA can be calculated by the, in initial, when we have started PCR, that time how many DNA we are having. So this will be not final, this will be initial. So initial number of DNA before PCR. So when we have started, so that time how many DNA we had, and then multiply by the total number of PCR runs. So with this we can calculate the final length of final number of DNA. So this is all about PCR. Some other day we will talk about some specialized forms of PCR, specialized types of PCR. So that's all. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. If you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe it. If you have any query, any comments, you can write in the comment box.